Alright, I'm about to move away for college, so I'm trying to stockpile another bunch of these videos before I leave. I'll be releasing however many I get done over the next couple of weeks, just like the very beginning of this video series. Check the description for the schedule I'll be releasing them at, and with that said, let's get on with the video. Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of Watching Every Studio Ghibli Movie. Today I watched Kokeiko Zakakara, or From Up on Poppy Hill. This film was released in 2011, and also, spoiler warning. Okay, overall, I thought this one was kinda boring. I feel like the movie didn't really do much to get me to care about its stakes. Neither of the main characters, Umi and Shun, feel particularly invested in their budding relationship. I more so get the sense that they just don't have anything else really going on in their lives. Neither of them ever perform any grand romantic gesture or seem to have some hole in their life which the other fills perfectly. They're just kinda nice to one another and develop a little middle school crush, which is fine and even charming in its own way. But I can't say that I would have been heartbroken if they didn't end up together. Similarly, I didn't feel like I would have cared much if the school clubhouse got destroyed. Obviously, the students care about it a whole lot, but I never really got that invested in any of the students. A couple of them are memorable and have fun personalities. I particularly like the philosophy club guy and how he basically introduces himself by going, "Hey, you want to talk about existentialism?" That was hilarious. But beyond that, I didn't really care. Honestly, the best thing for illustrating how much the kids love the building and the activities they get to do in it was that first shot where the camera pulls up from inside the building and you get to see all the handmade shacks and pulley systems and stuff they have going on. It really brings a huge amount of personality to the building, and it did kinda endear me to it. But then they sort of undercut it by cleaning up the whole place so that the big business guy would feel like the building was worth keeping up. I thought the whole reason why they wanted to keep the building up was because of all the history that was attached to it, and you can feel a little bit of that history in the building itself, but then they take down all of the pulley systems and clotheslines. They clean up any of the random knickknacks that would have been spotted cluttering any would-be open space. They put up a fresh coat of paint on everything. As far as I'm concerned, this is basically a new building, or at least not the same building we started with. And that observation does kind of raise the whole "if you keep replacing parts of a ship, when does it stop being the ship you started with" question, but nobody really raises that concern throughout the movie. Kind of a missed opportunity to have the philosopher guy talk about that. The whole clubhouse plot does remind me of a similar arc in one of my favorite shows ever, How I Met Your Mother. In it, the main character, Ted Mosby, who is an architect, tries to tear down an old building so that he can build a new one in its place. However, he receives a lot of pushback because the building he'd be destroying has a lot of history, and a lot of people have great memories with the building, etc., etc. And without spoiling it, I'll say that that arc discusses everything I could possibly hope for with a premise like this, and it kinda makes Poppy look shallow by comparison. But obviously, How I Met Your Mother and this movie are going for two very different appeals. Though, if I may discuss something positive about this film, I found a lot more to chew on with Poppy Hill when I started thinking about the time frame it takes place in, that being, I believe, early 1960s Japan. Specifically, this would have been the first generation following the end of World War II. And it just so happens to be a film all about preserving history and sort of respecting the past by keeping it in our thoughts. This is actually the one thing I feel like Umi and Shun actually do have a deeper connection over. Umi's dad died in the Korean War, and so she continues to raise his sailor flags every morning as a sort of way to pay respects to him. And Shun obviously is very passionate about doing the same type of thing to the clubhouse and maybe his own parents too, but I'll get into that in a moment. So basically, after World War II, Japan was not doing so good, in no small part due to America, and then America, along with other countries, started implementing all these reforms in Japan that basically made it more like America. And I don't know why I never thought of this before, but it makes a lot of sense that a lot of people might not have liked the new direction that these foreigners who just bombed them twice were taking their country in. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that the country would have experienced a bit of a conservative wave. Like, a lot of people would have wanted to at least hold on tight to the memory of a Japan that once was. And these two kids might be intended to act as the most wholesome, innocent encapsulation of those values. I have no idea if this is what the author was going for. This movie was an adaptation of a manga according to my anime list, and whatever the case, I am completely unfamiliar with the source material, but knowing when that was released and who the mangaka is might make this interpretation more or less believable. To focus more on the actual events that take place in the movie, I was pleasantly surprised when halfway through the film, Shun found out and then immediately told Umi that they were siblings separated at birth. I was totally expecting the gap of knowledge to become the big tension builder for the movie, which it would hold off on addressing until the climax. But no, Shun just acts reasonably and immediately tells Umi the deal, and they actually progress their relationship through this new information. And they basically say screw screw it, I love you whether we're related or not. And I might get flamed for this, but I like that. Because, like, on every level except biological, they are not siblings, so as long as they don't have a kid together, I don't see any reason to prevent them from being together. But it's not like it matters much, because we do, of course, get the later revelation that these two are in fact not long-lost siblings, and here's where things get messy. So the circumstances around Umi and Shun's births and upbringings are really confusing. Like, I still don't even think I fully understand it. Okay, from what I can tell, Umi's parents are her biological ones, and they got pregnant with her while her mom was in college. Shun's biological parents, on the other hand, are both dead. His dad died in some war, and his mom died giving birth to him. Some other family gave Shun as a baby to Umi's parents, and they, knowing that they could not handle another kid on the way while the mom was in school, decided to pass Shun off to yet another family. However, for some reason that I don't understand, they legally adopted him first to make some process easier, I think, and then gave Shun to the parents that he grew up with. And so, when Shun found out that the man he believed to be his birth father, who was actually just his legal father, was the same man as Umi's birth father, he assumed that they were siblings. Also, I have absolutely no idea who the third sailor in the picture was. Correct me on any of this in the comments, please, but point being that I and the person I was watching this film with were super confused and had to pause on several occasions. I think what gets me about the whole who's related to who plotline going on, though, is that the narrative clearly thinks it's very important, but it just isn't. Maybe it's a cultural thing, but I feel like the only kind of parent-child relationship that is deserving of being called such is a social one. The adults who raised you, took care of you, and shaped you into who you are. Those are your parents. It can be neat to learn that another set of people gave you your DNA, or that the government recognizes another set of people as your caretakers, but those people aren't your parents, at least not without the prefixes of biological and legal. But despite the fact that Umi and Shun both seem okay with their feelings for one another even when they think they are blood related, this film seems to care a whole hell of a lot about these kids' pasts and just assume that I would be interested in that as well. I wish they just stopped at the two of them being related and made the climax of the movie about them realizing what I was just talking about, with your true family being your social family, not just your birth family. Funnily enough, the person I was watching with actually called that Shun would be adopted jokingly, so it was pretty funny when that technically turned out to be the case. Back on the clubhouse plot, I am shocked at how by the books it was. Kids like the clubhouse. School/government wants to take down the clubhouse. Kids put in work to show that they are good kids and that the clubhouse is deserving of being kept up. This convinces the tippy-top guy who owns the property, I think, to let them keep the clubhouse. Screw the authority figures trying to take it away from them. It was so formulaic that it actually came across as intentional to me. I mean, the business guy in dialogue says something like, "Ah yes, I have been convinced. Kids, you may keep this building," and then everyone's like, yeah! I was thinking surely there must be more going on here, and that's probably why I ended up drawing all these conservationist themes out of the film. Despite the fact that I genuinely feel like this movie falls short in many areas story-wise, there's still a lot of little details that I genuinely enjoyed, most of which have to do with the setting. I love all the little details we see of the kitchen while Umi is cooking. I get an extra kick out of that stuff because I like cooking myself. I liked the layout of the town. It's very fun to just exist in, and I still want a wide shot of the whole area with everything in one frame, please. Obviously it got better as the film went along, but I feel like I just didn't have as strong of a mental map of this place as I would have hoped for. I also found it very weird and kinda interesting how little the school seems to matter to any of these kids. Normally in Japanese media, school is at least like a present thing going on in all of the kids' lives, but to these characters it feels like school is just a meaningless day job that they've figured out how to breeze through with the least possible effort. I mean, they've clearly got tons of time on their hands to keep up the clubhouse. They have a kid who just creates answer keys for all of its tests, and apparently it's been like this ever since Umi's mom was a kid. I don't really think it contributes that much to my reading of the film, but it does just kinda add flavor to the world, which I really appreciate. Closing thoughts, the presentation was solid, not as technically impressive as past Ghibli's, but easy on the eyes and ears nonetheless. Overall, while I did find some enjoyment in the film, my opening statement really says it all. I was just kinda bored, and I'm gonna give this movie a solid 5 out of 10. As always, I'd love to hear what you thought of this movie down in the comments, assuming you have seen it before or are watching these films along with me. Next time, I'm gonna be watching Kaze Tachinu, or The Wind Rises. I hope you'll stick around for that. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.